Tom Cruise does a lot of crazy things. Russell Crowe is known for playing sad or angry parts. But things didn't go well when these two famous people got together. Their story is one that Hollywood tried to keep secret, from fights on set to years of personal stress. We now know what it's really like to work with one of the most famous stars in the world, because Russell Crowe broke his silence. In 1986, Top Gun made Tom Cruise an international star. In it, he played the brave pilot Pete Maverick Mitchell. The movie made $357 million, even though it only cost $15 million to make. Fans liked how cool and sure of himself he was. And the movie had such a big effect that after it came out, sales of Ray-Ban aviator shades went up by 40%. Mission Impossible was the first movie Tom Cruise ever did. It would be the most important part of his career. Over almost 30 years, he has been in and directed 7 movies in the series, which have made more than $3.5 billion around the world. Instead of computer effects, Cruise made sure that the movies had lots of exciting real-life stunts. He kept the show fresh and interesting by being involved, and no other actor has been in charge of an action franchise for as long. It's well known that Cruise loves doing stunts. He rode his motorbike off a cliff and base jumped into a ravine in Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. To get ready for this one moment, they trained for 6 months and did over 500 practice jumps. He held his breath underwater for 6 minutes in Rogue Nation, which is longer than most people could ever dream of. He also did a halo jump in Fallout, which is a dangerous military fall from 25,000 feet. These stunts have become a signature of his work, showing how dedicated he is to giving audiences jaw-dropping action. But Cruise is more than just an action star. He has also shown how good an actor he is in dramatic parts. He played a sports agent in Jerry Maguire, who was trying to find love and fame at the same time. The movie made $273 million at the box office and got him a Golden Globe and an Oscar nod. He had already shown that he could hold people's attention with intense dialogue and emotion in A Few Good Men, where he starred opposite Jack Nicholson in a courtroom thriller. Cruise's success goes beyond praise from critics. He has done better than most at the box office. He has made more than $12 billion from movies around the world. More than 30 of his movies have made more than $100 million each. He's still breaking records after decades in the business. When it came to Russell Crowe, his big break came from 2 very different Australian movies that showed how good he was. He played Hando, a dangerous neo-Nazi and goth in 1992. People said that he looked a lot like Malcolm McDowell from A Clockwork Orange because of how powerful his act was. He won an award for Best Actor in Australia for the part, and everyone took notice of him. Everyone was shocked when he played Jeff Mitchell, a nice gay plumber, in The Sum of Us. He showed a whole new side of himself in this part. Kind, sensitive, and soft. The story of the movie won awards and did well in Australia. It got a lot of attention in Hollywood. Crowe was unbeatable once he got to Hollywood. From 1999 to 2001, he was up for 3 Oscars in a row for Gladiator, A Beautiful Mind, and As You Like It. He won for his role as Maximus in Gladiator. Maximus is a fighter who fights for justice. Over $465 million was made from the movie, and it won 5 Oscars, including Best Picture. After that, in A Beautiful Mind, he played John Nash, a smart but troubled scientist. He won even more awards for that part, including a Golden Globe and a BAFTA. Crowe even made history when he starred in 2 Best Picture wins in a row, Gladiator and A Beautiful Mind. He went even further for the part of the insider by putting on 35 pounds and changing the way he looked completely. This showed how far he was willing to go for a role. Crowe does more than just act, though. He made his first movie, The Water Diviner, in 2014, and it was a hit and won awards in Australia. Crowe plays music too. He's been in bands like 30 Odd Foot of Grunts and Indoor Garden Party over the years. In 2024, his band, The Gentlemen Barbers, put on a great show in Leeds where they sang Nick Cave and Leonard Cohen songs. Crowe has loved music since he was a child. To make money, he even sang in the streets and put out a song called I Just Want to Be Like Marlon Brando. He has always loved music a lot. Russell Crowe and Tom Cruise met for the first time at a fun gathering in Sydney in the summer of 1992. The event, which was put on by Naomi Watts, was for a small group of artists and people in the business. Crowe was a growing star in Australian movies at the time and was just starting to get known. Married Nicole Kidman and was already a worldwide star. He was also one of the highest paid stars in the world. Nicole Kidman was the one who brought them together. She liked Crowe's work in Australian movies and had been watching them. She brought Cruise over to meet him herself at the barbecue. Crowe said later that it didn't feel like a casual meetup. Kidman had already told Cruise how great his work was, and had even shown him some of his movies ahead of time. It was clear that she thought they would get along, and she was right. It began as a friendly chat but turned into a deep talk that went on for hours. Even though Cruise is famous, he took the time to watch Crowe's pictures, just like Proof and Spots would. He asked Crowe deep questions about how he became an actor, and what it's like to work in Australian movies. It was a strange moment. When Russell Crowe talked about his new movie, The Water Diviner, he told a story about a short chat he had with Tom Cruise. Crowe said that they automatically talked about Scientology with each other. Crowe got interested in Scientology after seeing a $2.50 deal on a video in a video shop. To be nice to Kidman, and just because he was interested, he chose to watch it. After that, Crowe brought it up when he was talking to Cruise. Honestly, he didn't know how Cruise would respond. But he was pleasantly surprised by how calm and polite Cruise was about the whole thing. At the end of their conversation, Cruise said something that really jumped out to Crowe. Cruise didn't try to convince him or push any ideas on him. He just told him, "Man, if it's important to you, you'll do something about it." Crowe was really impressed by that one line, and he thought Cruise was a really cool and honest guy afterward. When Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman stopped their 10-year marriage in 2001, it caused a lot of trouble in Hollywood. Russell had to make a hard choice when his marriage ended. He had known both of them for almost 10 years, but he chose to support Nicole. People on Tom's team even tried to get Russell to stay away from her, but Russell refused and told them to stop. Russell wasn't just picking a side. Nicole was like family to him, and he felt a strong bond with her. But this choice caused a split between him and Tom that never really went away. When Russell made a joke about being part of Nicole's settlement package after the divorce, things got even stranger. The joke was meant to be funny by making it seem like he had joined Team Nicole on purpose, but it didn't work out. Over time, Russell said that his response was meant to show love for both Tom and Nicole, but it made things worse. Tensions like those came up again when Tom and Russell worked together on The Mummy in 2017. They had never worked together before, but things weren't going well. Had a scene that stood out, a fierce fight between their characters. It took 4 full days to film this scene. Even though they were both in their 50s, both stars insisted on doing all of their own stunts. During the fight, they hit each other hard against walls, glass, and tables, breaking the whole set. The team was afraid that someone would get hurt, but Cruise and Crowe didn't want to back down. Not on camera. It was impossible to avoid the tension. Crowe apparently couldn't stand Cruise while they were filming, and it was said that old grudges made things worse. The set was split up. Some people backed Cruise because he had a great idea for the movie, while others backed Crowe because he wanted to take a more traditional, character-driven approach. Their different ways of working always got in the way of each other. Crowe pushed for fast-paced action and centered on depth and story. Because there were so many differences, crew members even started writing down what they said. Cruise's control over the whole production was a big part of the trouble. Because of his deal, he could sign off on scripts, watch over editing, and make big changes. To make the movie more about his character, he even hired his own writers to change it. The project also made me feel things I had forgotten about. Crowe had known Kidman for a long time and worked with Cruise, which meant going over some of their past together. In interviews, Crowe talked about how complicated things were, saying, "Any ending to a relationship like that is heavy, man." They must have both had a hard time. One of the most interesting relationships in Hollywood is between them. It began with admiration, got rough after Cruise's split, and ended with them working together on a project. This wasn't the only strange case Tom Cruise worked on. A very public fight between Tom Cruise and Brooke Shields in 2005 caused a lot of talk about postpartum depression. It all began when Shields put out her autobiography, Down Came the Rain. She wrote about how hard life was after having Rowan. Shields had sadness after giving birth, and talked about how the depression drug Paxil made her feel better. Tom Cruise didn't like the choice she made. When Cruise was on the Today Show with Matt Lauer, he said that Shields' use of drugs was dangerous. He said that they didn't work and suggested that they take vitamins and work out instead. He even made fun of her job by asking, "Where has her job gone?" A lot of people were upset about this, especially women who had been through similar problems. It wasn't okay for Shields to ignore what Cruise said. In a brave article for the New York Times, she told Cruise to keep saving the world from aliens and let women who are dealing with postpartum depression make decisions about their own health. She also brought up something clear. Going to guess that Mr. Cruise has never had postpartum sadness. Her answer was sharp. But it also showed how important this problem was to a lot of people. After a year, something strange took place. Cruise went over to Shields' house to say sorry in person. He said sorry for the mean things he had said, but he still didn't agree with her about drugs. He said sorry, and Shields accepted it. Soon after, she was even asked to Cruise's wedding to Katie Holmes in Italy. On the other hand, Thandie Newton had a hard time making Mission Impossible 2 with Tom Cruise. She talked about a dangerous night shoot in Spain in 2000 in an interview with 2020. Things quickly got out of hand in what was meant to be a simple balcony scene. It was already hard to film the scene. Newton and Cruise were meant to fight, but John Woo, the director, couldn't speak English on set. The players didn't have much help, so the tension kept rising. Cruise didn't like how Newton was acting in the scene. He suggested that they switch roles instead of staying cool. Newton would play his part, and he would play hers. He thought it would help, but it made things worse for Newton. She was scared and unsure of herself, like she was doing something wrong. Newton remembered that night that he thought Cruise looked odd. He had a small red mark on his nose at the start of the shoot. It turned into a big whitehead by the end of the night. The way it made her feel was like her worry was getting worse as the night went on. Newton felt terrible after it was over. They talked, and she blamed herself for what happened. Jonathan Demme was the other director. Cruise called her afterward, and she thought he might say sorry. He told her they were going to do the scene again instead. She gave him an alpha bitch act during the reshoot, which is what he asked for. But she didn't believe this was the best way to get someone to act well. Now it's July 2022, and Mickey Rourke made a big deal when he went on Piers Morgan and censored. He said some very bad things about Tom Cruise in the interview, which shocked Hollywood. Cruise was feeling very proud at the time of the event. Top Gun: Maverick had just made more than $1 billion at the box office. However, Rourke didn't think Cruise's success was important, and even said he wasn't important. He said Cruise's 35-year acting career was shallow and didn't have any artistic worth. Rourke doesn't think that making hit movies is what makes an actor great. You have to be willing to take risks and change for each job. In a very heated interview on the Today Show on June 24, 2005, Tom Cruise and Matt Lauer also got into a fight. Things got hot very quickly as they talked about Cruise's movie War of the Worlds. Cruise was mad that Brooke Shields had said she was going to take depression pills after giving birth. Cruise said that antidepressants weren't real answers and that psychiatry was a fake science. He said there was no such thing as an excess of chemicals. Cruise got more angry when Lauer tried to question him. He said Lauer didn't have all the facts and that Shields' ideas were harmful. It was one of the most talked about TV interviews because of how heated the fight got. In a later piece in the New York Times, Brooke Shields defended herself, stood by her choices, and questioned Cruise's beliefs. This event became a symbol of how Cruise's devotion to Scientology went against popular beliefs. Leah Remini used to be a committed Scientologist, but she has since told disturbing stories about Cruise. It was 2020 when Cruise's COVID-19 rant about the mission went global. Ramini said it was all for show. She said that Scientologists don't even believe in the pandemic because they think it's just a trick to get people to respond. She also told stories about Cruz's short temper, like how he supposedly lost it when his staff didn't have the right ingredients for cookies. Cruz is said to have led 5 staff members to quit on the Mission Impossible set because of how he behaved. Ramini said that David Miscavige, the leader of Scientology, had changed Cruz into what she called an abusive tyrant. On top of that, she said Cruz's public rants are meant to make him look heroic while hiding a much darker part of his personality. Even though both Tom Cruise and John Travolta are important people in Scientology, their friendship has also been tense. They are said to have been competing for years to be David Miscavige's top star in the church. It all came to a head in 2008 when Cruise was given the Freedom Medal of Valor, which is Scientology's highest honor. People had always told Travolta that he was the most loyal member, so he was very angry. He didn't even show up to Cruise's wedding to Katie Holmes, which was a big deal in their group. Many people who work inside the camp say that Cruise gets gifts and direct access to Miscavige while Travolta doesn't. It is said that Travolta was so angry that he wrote a letter asking for answers about the award. Representatives of Scientology have rejected these claims, but it's hard to ignore how much the two actors dislike each other. There are also shocking stories about Tom Cruise's private life. Nicole Kidman was shocked when Tom Cruise filed for divorce in February 2001, saying that they could no longer get along. It broke her heart because she didn't see it coming. At the same time, she was getting more and more famous as an actress. After only 2 years, she got an Oscar for her part in The Hours. Though she should have been happy, she was sad. That part of her life was a mess. It ruined the feeling of the moment. It was clear how much she hurt the night she got her Oscar. She took the award everyone dreams of winning to the Vanity Fair party. But she couldn't have a party. She got up early, went back to her hotel, and ate takeout with her family while sitting on the floor. She knew what she really wanted in that quiet moment. She thought, "I need to find love. I want to find love." It was more than just two people breaking up that led to the divorce. Some problems came up because of it. A big part was played by Cruise's church, Scientology. The church allegedly called Kidman a suppressive person after the breakup. Along with Cruise, she had adopted 2 kids. This made it harder for her to stay close to them. During a TV interview in 2005, things got even worse. Someone asked Cruise if Kidman was his true love, and he became angry. "He told you that you were crossing the line now. Remember how to behave." Even though it hurt, both Cruise and Kidman moved on in the end. Kidman fell in love with Keith Urban, a country singer. He proved he was the one when he gave her gardenias as a birthday gift after only 6 months of dating. In 2006, they got married there. Cruise got married to Katie Holmes, but that also didn't work out. They split up in record time in 2012 when Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes. Everyone in Hollywood was shocked when they got divorced in just 2 weeks. It takes months or even years for high-profile divorces with a lot of money and land to go through, but this one was different. Katie had thought through every step. To make her escape from the marriage as easy as possible, she even talked to lawyers on throwaway phones. It was clear that she knew what she was doing. Katie chose some strange things when it came to money. A lot of people thought she would ask for spousal support, but she didn't. She instead thought about their daughter Suri. Tom promised to raise the kids for $40,000 a year until Suri turns 18 years old. He also paid for all of her medical bills and school costs. On top of that, Suri was given a trust fund. Most of it is locked away until she is in her 30s. She will be able to get to some of it when she is 18. Katie also kept their $35 million huge home in Beverly Hills and her pricey gold collection. She left with a lot, even if they don't get spouse support. The parenting deal was the biggest surprise, though. Katie got full and sole care of Suri. In celebrity divorces, this doesn't happen very often. Instead, joint custody is the rule. She wanted to be in charge of Suri's daily life, like choosing her faith and schooling. She understood. Tom's only right is to visit. Katie asked for a divorce in New York, where courts are more likely to give one parent full control. She made a smart move that paid off. Around the end of 2004, Nazan and Boniati's life went in a strange and scary direction. That's what the Church of Scientology called her secret job, a special project. At first, she had no idea what it was about. They made her look different. She had to quit her long-term boyfriend, take off her braces, and fix her hair. She soon found out the truth. Tom Cruise had picked her to be his girlfriend. It might have seemed like a dream at first, but it turned into a nightmare very quickly. Boniati was brought to New York and watched all the time. She was never left alone with Cruise. Scientology workers were always around her. Even the way she looked wasn't good enough for Cruise. To make her look better, he told her to file down her teeth. She had to spend hours every day getting rid of all the bad thoughts she had about him. She felt like she had too much power over her life. She was not allowed to mess up. People thought it was rude of her to say, "Very well done," to Cruise one time, as if she thought he was less important than her. For this, she had to go through long, hard auditing meetings as a punishment. Another time, she did something stupid in front of David Miscavige, the head of Scientology, which made things even worse. The relationship ended quickly in January 2005. Being hurt and confused, Boniati told a friend what she had been through. Instead of getting help, she was given harsh punishments. She had to clean bathrooms with an old toothbrush, acid clean tiles, and dig ditches late at night. She was yelled at, called awful names, and told to sell Scientology books in public. It made them look bad and was mean. For Boniati, this event was a turning point. In the end, she quit Scientology and stopped being involved with the church and its policies. After many years, she told the FBI her story and showed how much the church had ruled her life, and how she feels about Tom Cruise.